All right. So, minstrel shows. What is that?
It's essentially just racist comedy.
Yeah.
And
Blackface making fun of a race for their culture and how they talk. All right, moving on. Is there anything similar to it today? I kind of say with stereotypes and like how in movies, like if they need comic relief, they'll add in a racial character and they'll just crack a joke about their race, and then comedy.
Yeah, like a good example is like 16 Candles, Long Duck Dong. It's from the 90s, so it's not really today, but same difference. And his whole character is just like making fun of the Asian culture. And another example would be like the Book of Mormon. They're just making fun of that like entire religion throughout the whole play.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. After reading the information about minstrel shows and reading examples about minstrel shows, are cultural and ethnic sensitivities warranted? I'd say yes, because no one wants to be made fun of for something they can't change about themselves.
I agree. I think that, like, because it's something that you can't change about yourself, it shouldn't be made fun of in, like, such a harsh way.
Yeah.
And, like, it's a situation that they didn't ask to be in. It's one that they were put in because they were, like, sold into slavery and, like, all of that stuff. Like, they didn't want... It's not like they were like, oh, let's go be slaves and be uneducated.
Yeah, it's kind of something we put them into, and then we're making fun of that. All right. How does chapter 8... Oh, wait. How does Has our society become too sensitive, or are minstrel shows a good example of why there is sensitivity today? I think it is a good example because it kind of keeps us from kind of crossing the lines of, like, stuff that we shouldn't joke about.
Yeah, I think it just, like, proves to be a good example of, I guess, like, unnecessary racist humor.
Yeah.
Like, there's no point in, like, being rude about something that someone can't change.
Yeah. All right, next. How does chapter 8 compare to the minstrel examples? How does it contrast? It has the same format and, like, how they talk and how there's a white man and a black man, and the white man asks the black man, like, what do you mean? Like, go more in depth. Like, it matches that in chapter 8, like, when Jim's talking about having
everything and
like hairy chest,
it just continues like asking.
Yeah. How does it contrast? I'd say it contrasts because I don't think Huck said all these things with the intent to make him sound stupid.
Yeah, and then shoot, which one is this? This is the
superstition.
And the like rich one.
Yeah.
I don't think he like intended on like making him sound so like dumb and stuff.
Yeah. He might have just been genuinely curious, like, you have a hairy chest and you're not rich, so like, what does that mean?
Yeah, he seems to be like a bit more like genuinely curious, because throughout all of this, Huck seems to be like pretty superstitious as well in the way that he talks about like the things that his dad would tell him.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of that stuff.
All right, going on to chapter 14. How does it compare and contrast? Again, I think it's the same format, except in this one where it's kind of more into like the black man will go on a tangent and you kind of can't understand what they're saying, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Showing them how stupid they are.
Yeah, I think that this one, I think that the biggest difference in this one is it comes off as more of like Huck trying to educate and teach Jim, and like almost like help close that, or help him not be so ignorant.
Yeah.
But rather than like making fun of him for his ignorance, but then it's also kind of still the same in the way that like he ends it off with like,
oh, he's a black person, I can't connect.
Yeah, like you can't even bother teaching him, like he won't even, like you can't learn him, it says like you can't learn him to argue or something like that.
Yeah. Moving on. Does this chapter add to the argument that Huck Finn is racist? I'm gonna say when I first read it, I didn't get that he was racist, but after reading more about it, I can see where he's coming. I can see how he can be perceived as racist.
Yeah, I think that I think that it goes along with like the whole story in general, rather than just like this small excerpt of it. It seems like throughout the whole story, he kind of like starts off as thinking in like a super racist mindset, but then becomes more accepting towards the end of like the 1/3 of the book that we've read so far.
Yeah.
Because whenever it starts off, like in the first couple chapters, whenever he's like sneaking away, and they see Jim, they're kind of like poking fun at him for being a slave and all of that kind of stuff. And whenever Huck is on the run and he like first runs into Jim, he's like, typically I'd turn him in, and like he keeps on using the N-word and all of that kind of stuff.
So, what does this mean for the rest of chapters? Wait, did you say that he's racist or not? Sorry, were you done? Sorry.
I wasn't done, sorry.
I'm sorry.
He starts off like super racist, but then he kind of like realizes that Jim is his only option for companionship, and becomes like more like accepting of him, it seems like, throughout the chapters, because even like chapter 8 versus chapter 14, those two excerpts, like 8 seemed to be more like making fun of him, like he kept on poking at him, like asking for more explanation.
Yeah.
Whereas chapter 14 seemed to be more like him trying to educate Jim.
Yeah.
But you still see like the racist side of it in the way that he's like, can't even bother teaching them, like he's not gonna learn.
Yeah. I don't think Huck's Finn is racist, and I think Twain includes these scenes like to show like their big differences, but like later on they'll slowly come together. Like in chapter 8, like they're obviously like not getting along. Like Huck thinks that what Jim is saying doesn't make any sense, but later on in chapter 14, they're both equally kind of exchanging information about what they think, and I think like over time Twain will show more examples of this and show the bringing together of like a black man and a white man more.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Alright.
Sorry, Gerard. This is our 3rd time recording this.
Yeah, we did not have any audio for the first 2 times, so yeah. Alright. Goodbye, Karsyn.
Bye.